My brother Knights, on behalf of the officers and directors of the Supreme Council, I want to thank you for all of your hard work during the past fraternal year. Each of you has made an important contribution to our church and our communities. Together, we have achieved new records of membership growth, insurance protection, and charitable giving. Thank you for your dedication and service to our order, our church, and our nation. You have every reason to be proud of the accomplishments of our order. And as you plan for even greater achievements during the coming fraternal year, I hope that your convention will also be a time for fraternal friendship and celebration. But this year, Catholics in the United States face a most serious and unprecedented situation. And so my remarks to you on this occasion must be unprecedented as well. Today we face a situation that threatens the very essence of religious liberty in America, and one that directly affects the future of the Knights of Columbus. I am sure that by now you have heard about the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services health insurance mandate that will force Catholic organizations to provide health insurance plans for their employees that will provide sterilization, contraception, and abortifacient drugs. This mandate is compulsory for every Catholic organization and institution. It is also mandatory for the Knights of Columbus. Let me explain what that means. The Knights of Columbus will be forced to use our membership dues and the money generated through our insurance sales to fund health care plans for our employees that provides drugs and procedures that violate the moral teaching of our church on the transmission and sanctity of human life. Constitutional scholars have described the Obama administration's mandate as unconstitutional and even illegal. The U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops has vowed to fight it. Our bishops have called on the President to rescind his mandate. They have asked us to urge Congress to pass legislation to protect the religious liberty rights of all Americans. Our own Supreme Chaplain, Bishop William Lori, has been chosen by our nation's bishops to lead a newly established special committee of bishops on religious liberty. As Knights, we can be proud that Bishop Lori has courageously helped to rally so many against this assault on our religious freedom. Cardinal Timothy Dolan of New York has predicted that Catholics will have to prepare for tough times. And already we have witnessed an increase in hate speech against Catholics and smear campaigns against our leaders. Anti-Catholic bigots and their allies in the media can be expected to increase their attacks in the days to come. But this is not only a Catholic issue. Thousands of Protestant ministers have publicly opposed the mandate, and some have said that they would go to jail before they violated their religious conscience. The mandate has caused a firestorm of controversy, and so the Obama administration has offered a so-called accommodation to religious organizations. The administration now says that since providing sterilization, contraception, and abortifacient drugs is less costly than paying for childbirth, insurers will be able to provide this coverage for free. Therefore, Catholics and Catholic institutions should not be concerned. But if the President's logic is correct, then insurance companies could also provide many other prescription drugs for free, since controlling blood pressure and cholesterol, for example, is far less expensive than treating patients for strokes and heart attacks. But you and I know that there is no such thing as a free lunch. The fact remains that the Knights of Columbus and other Catholic organizations will be forced to purchase health insurance plans for their employees, and those plans will provide services that violate our moral beliefs. The administration's accommodation is entirely inadequate, and it is unacceptable. It must not be allowed to go into effect. My brother Knights, you know the Knights of Columbus successfully led efforts to have the words "under God" added to the Pledge of Allegiance in the 1950s. Those words were from Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address. Lincoln knew that America's greatness cannot be separated from the affirmation in our Declaration of Independence that we are a nation founded on inalienable rights that are endowed by our Creator. A decade after he drafted the Declaration of Independence, Thomas Jefferson wrote the Virginia Act for establishing religious freedom. In it, he stated, "To compel a man to furnish contributions of money for the propagation of opinions which he disbelieves is sinful and tyrannical." Yet how are we to describe the insistence by the Obama administration that our religious institutions pay for programs that violate their fundamental moral and religious convictions? Never before has the power of our nation's national government been used to violate rights of religious conscience in this way. Those who are intent on this abuse of power should remember the words of Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., who in his letter from a Birmingham jail told our nation that he agreed with St. Augustine that an unjust law is no law at all. Though we have never before faced such an assault on our religious liberty in the United States, the Knights of Columbus has successfully defended religious liberty before in our country. In 2009, the Knights of Columbus worked side by side with the Catholic Church in Connecticut to defeat a state bill that would have taken financial control of parishes away from the church. And this year in Montana, our brother Knights successfully defended their First Amendment right to maintain a World War II memorial that includes a statue of Christ. If that matter goes to court, rest assured the Knights of Columbus will be there. For more than a century, defending religious liberty has been a hallmark of the Knights of Columbus. In the 1920s, we stood firm against the Ku Klux Klan that had succeeded in the state of Oregon in enacting legislation making it illegal to send children to Catholic schools. We defended the freedom of our Catholic schools to exist, and our support made it possible for Catholics to fight this law and to win before the United States Supreme Court in 1924. That victory has ensured our right ever since to have Catholic schools. And we succeeded during a time when national membership in the Ku Klux Klan far exceeded membership in the Knights of Columbus. Also in the 1920s, we insisted that the U.S. government take an active role in ending the violent persecution of Catholics in Mexico. We led a nationwide campaign to end the anti-Catholic violence there. Again, we stood firm against the Ku Klux Klan and other well-organized anti-Catholic organizations. Now it is again time for us to stand up and defend our church. Recently, Pope Benedict XVI spoke out publicly about the threats to religious liberty in the United States. He said this: "It is imperative that the entire Catholic community in the United States comes to realize the grave threats to the Church's public moral witness." My brother Knights, you and I are leaders in the Catholic community in the United States. You and I have a critical role in defending our church and its public moral witness. Today I ask every brother Knight to answer the call of our bishops and of our Holy Father. Now is the appointed time for every brother Knight to be the strong right arm of the Catholic Church. And so I ask each of you to do the following. Pass a resolution at your state convention in support of religious liberty. Say the prayer for religious liberty that our bishops have asked us to pray at each of your council meetings. Contact your elected officials and urge them to pass legislation supported by our bishops to protect our religious liberty. We now face a difficult time of great challenge. A standard has been raised, and we have been summoned. Generations of faithful brother Knights before us have sacrificed greatly to defend our church. The cause is freedom. Now it is our turn. Vivat Jesus.